Welcome to Voice of the Vatican, our top stories. Celebrating a saint. Rome is rife with celebrations and thanksgiving after Mother Teresa is officially canonized a saint. Crisis in Sudan. An African bishop lauds brave missionaries for remaining in war-torn South Sudan to aid the suffering and starving. Peace Week. Forgiveness and healing are the themes of events sponsored by the Church in Colombia as the country heals from the pains of war. Science shows. In the 90s, many thought contraceptives were the easy answer to teen pregnancy, but a new study proves that condom distribution actually increases teen pregnancy. Government overreach. Chinese authorities have demanded that churches in Zhejiang hand over their money to the government. The value of life. For Suicide Prevention Day, we'll speak to Luke Maxwell, who founded the apostolate YouCan'tBeErased.com to give hope and support to others after his own triumph. I'm Ashley Nerona in Rome, Italy, and you're watching Voice of the Vatican, only on Shalom World TV. She's now known as Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and during this Jubilee Year of Mercy is the face of mercy to the world. And pilgrims from around the world came to Rome to celebrate the moment that she was officially canonized, right here in St. Peter's Square.
Natura deliberazione preabita.
After due deliberation and frequent prayer for divine assistance, and having sought the counsel of many of our brother bishops, we declare and define Blessed Teresa of Calcutta to be a saint, and we enroll her among the saints, decreeing that she is to be venerated as such by the whole Church.
Statuentes ean in universa ecclesia.
Many who came for the canonization felt they were paying tribute to a woman who was like their own mother.
When I was doing my +2 studies, I had a chance to meet Mother Teresa in Calcutta, and we had a talk for maybe some 4 hours. Then she explained to us everything about her life. That time I never thought that when I took the photos and all, I never thought that I had a chance to be present in such a situation. And to say she took us for showing all the places around the Calcutta, especially the Kali Ghat, where she had the hospice and everything. She explained to me like a mother, no? Then I never thought that I got this chance, and now here God has let me to come and to witness this great event in the life of Mother Teresa.
For some, this canonization was a first-time experience.
I've never been to a canonization of a saint, so I think it's going to be very, very exciting to see one of my models be canonized. And Mother Teresa is one of my favorite saints. And when my mom goes to work sometimes, there are shrines, and she gets us these videos and clips of these saints' lives. And I got really fond of Mother Teresa. So I wanted to see her get canonized.
What was it that drew more than 100,000 people to St. Peter's Square to celebrate the life of this simple sister? It was her virtue that spoke volumes and the way she was the face of Christ to all.
Well, for us, I believe it's the kindness, the humility, and the love that she's had for everyone. And just such a caring person, and it's contagious.
I love her virtue, and she's such a great saint to follow when you want to learn how to live your Christian life.
Mother Teresa is a role model for me, and she inspires me to help people who need help. Because the way she stops and helps people out when they need it most. She prays for anyone who asks for prayers. And I really wanted to see Mother Teresa and all the saints, but as long as I get to see one in my lifetime, that's awesome.
St. Teresa is the 29th saint to be canonized by Pope Francis, and she has inspired so many in ways we'll never comprehend to live by her example of charity to the world.
When my mom's sick, I help her out when she's sick, or if someone in my class drops their books, I help them pick them up and stuff.
God is love, and she showed us how this the word love can be incarnated in the real realm, no? So I think that is the best example that she showed to us to love the brethren.
Coming here and seeing the love that people have, if it's something that can be shared around the world, the humility, the kindness for your fellow person and the people that you meet every day, and that you can do a good thing every day.
I feel this is the universal church, and it can bring everyone together as it should, and all the saints have a lot to teach us, and Mother was our today's saint for us to follow.
Immediately following the massive canonization, the Holy Father headed to the Paul VI Audience Hall, where 3 large ovens had been installed to prepare an Italian classic, pizza. Hosted by the Missionaries of Charity, a pizza lunch for 1,500 was served for the poor. The next day, a massive Thanksgiving was celebrated by Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who spoke of how it is the love of Christ that compels us. And St. Teresa of Calcutta's relics were displayed for public veneration throughout the week. A stop for many pilgrims was to pray at the chapel in which St. Teresa herself prayed while visiting Rome, and to enter the very bedroom in which she slept during her stays in the Eternal City. The festivity happening in Rome and throughout the world is a testament to the impact that Mother Teresa made on so many. We can imagine that St. Teresa, an example of living God's call to love and loving until it hurts, is smiling down on the faithful. And as we close this joyous occasion, let us recall the words shared by Cardinal Angelo Comastri of Rome, spoken to him by St. Teresa of Calcutta. Quote, "In the end, we will bring with us only a suitcase of charity. We must fill it while there is still time." Amid a civil war, a humanitarian crisis, and the threat of mass starvation, the Catholic Church in South Sudan is still working to bring Christ to a troubled country. According to Catholic Relief Services, almost 6 million people are facing a severe hunger crisis in South Sudan. South Sudan became an independent country in 2011, but it's been torn by a civil war since December of 2013 between state forces, the Sudan People's Liberation Army, and opposition forces, as well as sectarian conflict. A peace agreement was signed, but nevertheless, violence erupted earlier this summer, which prompted the South Sudan Council of Churches to publicly condemn the violence. There are an estimated 1.7 million people displaced within the country, more than 800,000 refugees, and almost 3 million people at risk of life-threatening hunger, according to congressional testimony by a USAID official earlier this year. Many aid organizations have evacuated their non-essential international staff from the capital. Yet, throughout the dire situation, many Catholic missionaries have chosen to stay, to help the suffering. Lasallian Christian brother Bill Furman, director of Solidarity with South Sudan, said, quote, "My colleagues and I believe this is a good place for religious to be," noting that we know our continued presence encourages local residents and provides some hope. This is despite an attack in mid-July when South Sudanese troops attacked aid workers in a Juba hotel. According to an Associated Press report, more than 80 armed men gang-raped several foreign women, singled out Americans, beat and robbed people, and carried out mock executions for nearly 4 hours, while UN peacekeepers did not respond to repeated pleas for help. Bishop Eduardo Hiiboro of the Catholic Diocese of Tombura-Yambio has lauded religious missionaries who've decided to remain among the suffering people of South Sudan, the world's newest country, and described their decision as love in practice. The humanitarian work of the Catholic Church throughout the world represents Matthew 25, verse 40, in action. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. September 4th through 11th marks a week especially devoted to the theme of peace in the country of Colombia. Now that a peace accord has been agreed to, the Church recognizes the great need for healing and reconciliation. After the conflict between the government and the Marxist rebels lasted over 50 years and killed over 200,000 people. The main objective of the Week of Peace is to reflect on the urgent need to forgive, heal wounds, and rebuild relationships that allow Colombians to advance toward a country in which all can live together in peace and serenity. The week's initiatives are happening in schools, parishes, and neighborhoods, reaching out to those who suffer. Masses, celebrations, talks, and festivities highlight the week, and Colombian bishops have invited the faithful to reflect on a document called Artisans of Forgiveness, Reconciliation, and Peace. It was published in September 2015 at the end of the 7th National Congress of Reconciliation that brought together the leaders of 650 local communities, in particular those involved with the armed conflict. In order to foster the message of forgiveness amongst Colombians, the role and identity of social communicators are crucial. And so the Department of Communications of the Colombian Episcopal Conference has sponsored a virtual course for communicators with the theme Towards a Language of Forgiveness, Reconciliation, and Peace. It's aimed at directors, producers, presenters, and personalities of local radio programs, and is intended as a further contribution of the Catholic Church to the country's peace process. The program includes 80 hours of training in 2 sessions. A statement this week issued by the Vatican Secretariat of State stated that the Holy Father reiterates his support for the goal of attaining the peace and reconciliation of the entire Colombian people, in light of human rights and Christian values, which are at the heart of Latin American culture. A new study has found that schools that offered condom distribution programs beginning in the 1990s have increased the rate of teenage pregnancies. The team of researchers at the University of Notre Dame say, quote, "We find that access to condoms in schools increases teen pregnancy by about 10%. Advocates for the program have traditionally argued that more condoms mean fewer pregnancies, although this study proves them wrong. The study arrived shortly following recent data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suggesting that the percentage of sexually active teens is at just over 30%, the lowest number since 1991. National Review concluded that the condom distribution study adds to, quote, "an impressive body of research, which shows that efforts to encourage contraceptive use, either through mandates, subsidies, or distribution, are ineffective at best or counterproductive at worst." This study emphasizes the natural law that the Catholic Church has always promoted as the #1 way to prevent teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases: abstinence. Some churches in China's coastal Zhejiang province have been ordered to hand over all of their monetary holdings to the government. That's according to a nonprofit Christian human rights organization. The organization China Aid, based in Washington, D.C., said churches in Pingyang County, Wenzhou, have been informed of the new conditions, stating they need to hand over all their money, including donations. According to China Aid's report, the order is part of the government's so-called 5 Transformations campaign, which is being carried out to mold Christianity into an institution that reflects the objectives of the Communist Party. In a statement to the people of China earlier this year, the Holy Father said, "Let us ask Mary to give to her children in China the ability to discern at all times the signs of the loving presence of God, who always welcomes and forgives." We too pray for this grace, especially in these times of religious persecution. Coming up next, we'll go up close with Monsignor Michael Mannion, a priest who first met Mother Teresa in 1969, who shares stories with Voice of the Vatican of their special friendship and how she impacted his priestly ministry. We'll celebrate faith and take a look at a unique procession in Viterbo, Italy, where each year the local townspeople build a 90-foot-high tribute to their local saint.
Jesus is God. Jesus is Lord. Jesus has the victory.
We all have a call to greatness, a desire for it. We want to do something good.
Now is your time. You could change the world, and the world needs changing, so get busy.
Shalom World, God's own channel.
More headline news. The World Health Organization estimates that over 800,000 people die by suicide each year. That's one person every 40 seconds. Up to 25 times as many make a suicide attempt. For World Suicide Prevention Day on September 10th, we spoke to Luke Maxwell, founder of YouCan'tBeErased.com, who's reaching out to suffering teens with a message of hope.
Look around. More than 1 in 4 of all high school age students are suffering from clinical depression. I decided this is it. I can't take it anymore. I can't. I'm done. I swerved and slammed head-on into the oncoming vehicle.
It was a miracle I survived.
And imagine giving them hope. Imagine saving their lives, because you can. I mean, just think about it. 1 in 4 teens, how many lives can you save? Because how many can you give them?
I'm standing here unashamed of what I've gone through for you.
I am the founder of YouCan'tBeErased.com, a website that I use as a medium to help teens and those around them, to inspire them to recognize the struggles they're facing, overcome them, and then be unashamed in either sharing their story and living their life. So I focus on struggles mainly with depression and other mental illnesses because that's what I experienced myself.
Luke realized how much his story helped others and began speaking publicly, sharing his story with thousands of all ages across the United States.
I first discovered that I had a medical disease after a violent suicide attempt at 16 years old, where I drove my family 12-seater van into an oncoming car at 60 miles per hour, wearing no seatbelt. I shouldn't have survived. As I was healing, I realized that this darkness, this despair that I have been going through for the past 4 years, that more than 1 in 4 of other teenagers, just like me, who were perfectly happy, smiling on the outside, they were dealing with these same thoughts.
After the crash, Luke's journey of healing began in the confessional.
Finally, about 10 days after the crash, I decided I want to go to confession. I want to start over. And then so there was a visiting priest in a convent nearby. I went to confession with him. It was a long confession, the longest of my life. But after that, I felt freed. And I thought, wow. I mean, I'm not feeling great right now. I'm still feeling sad. But that little prick of light just started in my heart. And I realized God's leading me down a path. I have no idea where I'm going. But I know I'm going somewhere, so I might as well follow that, go ahead, and then just trust that He'll lead me in the right direction.
Luke typically receives several emails after a talk, often reaching out for help, and always thanking him for sharing his inspirational story.
I know one person had a suicide plan, but after hearing my talk, went to a therapist and is now on the road to recovery. I've been handed instruments of self-harm there right after my talk. So it's those kinds of things, and especially those messages that I get. Sometimes I've gotten messages almost a year after a talk that I've given saying, you may not remember this speech that you gave, but I was there, I heard this, and this made a profound impact on my life, my mental health, and it's really helped me to improve.
The Catechism of the Catholic Church reminds us that we are stewards, not owners, of the life God has entrusted to us. World Suicide Prevention Day is a time to join with others around the world and in your community who are working toward the common goal of preventing suicide. You can find out more about Luke Maxwell's ministry at www.youcan'tbeerased.com. He was a young seminarian in Rome when he first met St. Teresa of Calcutta, and the imprint she left has resonated for the rest of his life. Voice of the Vatican went up close with Monsignor Michael Mannion of the Diocese of Camden, New Jersey, who explained that it all began when he was volunteering in a poor part of Rome and was approached by a missionary of charity sister for a little bit of help.
I said, "Mother's coming in to Rome. She needs a ride." And I said, "My motorcycle." And she said, "No." She said she has a broken rib. She normally takes a bus, but we want to get her a ride this time. So I said, okay. So on that given night before, I knocked on Bishop Hickey's door, our rector, later Archbishop Cardinal in Washington, and I said, "Bishop, can I borrow your car tomorrow? I have to pick up some nun at the airport." So I borrowed his car, his driver, and picked up Mother Teresa. We got to the convent at Torre Fiscale, another very poor section of Rome, and Mother said, "Well, we need a priest tomorrow." And I said, "I'm not ordained yet." And she said, "Can you get us a priest?" So that night I knocked again on the bishop's door and I said, "Bishop, I need your car tomorrow again, but I need you in it at about 5:30 or 6 to go and say Mass for these sisters and their superior that just came in from Rome, Mother Teresa." She says, "Okay." So we went and they really hit it off. Beautiful conversation. And that continued to unfold through the years to when he was Archbishop Cardinal of Washington. He made sure there were 5 or 6 homes of Mother Teresa in his archdiocese.
Monsignor Mannion and Mother Teresa maintained their friendship over the years, and when her work brought her to London, making it impossible to attend his priestly ordination in St. Peter's Basilica, he discovered that she still wanted to give him a special gift.
And the sister said to me, "Michael, if you look on that table over there, Southall, England, London, there's a picture for you." Mother never lets her picture be taken for anybody personal. But she had this picture taken, and she wrote a note on the back, "For Jesus, be all, be a good priest." I still have that.
Mother Teresa's example of virtue inspired Monsignor Mannion's priesthood in countless ways.
Mother believed that what she was doing in one way or fashion, everybody could do. And people say, "No, no, no." But she believed that by the grace of Christ, and I call it Galatians 2 syndrome, I no longer live, Christ lives in me, that everybody has a way to serve the poor. And in some cases, the poor live in very wealthy homes with significant zip codes and nice cars in their garage. And I said to her once when I was in Calcutta, "Mother, do you think I should stay here?" And she says, "No, go back to America. There's more poverty there." And she was thinking of a spiritual poverty.
In the Diocese of Camden, Monsignor Mannion became involved in college ministry and post-abortion healing. In fact, Mother Teresa asked him to write up his work on post-abortion healing. And in 1985, it became one of the first books on the topic. He later became involved in community relations and founded Discovery House Ministries. He was also asked to become the chaplain for Camden County Police Academy, the Camden County Police Department Prosecutor's Office, the State Police, and the local FBI. In 2013, the Philadelphia Division of the FBI honored him for his efforts to educate youth about the effects of substance abuse and violence, and for his assistance to the local FBI's Community Outreach Program.
I see it all as a parish without boundaries, not designated by geographical boundaries, as necessary as they sometimes are, but designated by groups of people and their loved ones and loved ones and loved ones and friends and neighbors who say, "Can we talk to you?"
Monsignor Mannion was also part of a unique program in Camden in collaboration with the U.S. Marshal Service called the Fugitive Safe Surrender Program.
And so we got some ministers together and about 12 law enforcement agencies, and we got permission from the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court, and at that time from our U.S. Attorney, Chris Christie, now governor, and we rolled out a safe surrender for Camden. And we told people, one-to-one in groups, wherever we could find them, this is not amnesty, this is consideration. And so in a given 4-day period, rain, sleet, snow, we had everything but a volcano or earthquake, 6,000 guys lined up with their families, Crips and Bloods and everybody in between, and they surrendered.
In a similar way to Mother Teresa, Monsignor Mannion reaches out to the suffering in Camden in various ministries, like a soup kitchen for the poor, door-to-door visits in the most violent neighborhoods, pro-life activities, and ecumenical efforts, always recalling what Mother Teresa left with him.
An inspiration and a challenge. Yes. A mother was someone that had God's gift to comfort us when we're afflicted and to afflict us if we get too comfortable. Always with a heart of love.
Just 60 miles north of Rome, the whole city of Viterbo, Italy, has come together this week to celebrate the annual festivities of their native daughter on the feast day of St. Rose of Viterbo. Each year, the townspeople unveil what's called La Macchina, a massive 92-foot-high tower illuminated with 3,000 tiny electric lights and 880 candles, and topped with a statue of St. Rose of Viterbo. It's carried for nearly a mile through the streets of the old medieval town on the backs of around 100 volunteers called facchini, or porters. The idea behind the tradition goes all the way back to September 4th of 1258, when the body of the saint was exhumed and transported from the monastery of St. Damien. Although it was not until 1664, following 7 years of plague in the city, that a tower in her honor first appeared. In gratitude for having survived such a terrible pestilence, the citizens voted to renew the veneration of their saint every year, and the annual tradition of the tower was born. Born of poor and pious parents, even as a child, Rose had a great desire to pray and to aid the poor. At the age of 3 years old, the story goes that her prayers raised to life her maternal aunt. Inspired by the Blessed Mother, at the age of only 10, Rose entered the Third Order of St. Francis and adopted its religious habit, a simple tunic with a cord around her waist. While walking the streets with the crucifix in her hand, she would exhort others to be faithful to the Catholic Church. Rose attempted at age 15 to found a monastery. The effort did not come to fruition, and she returned to a life of prayer, penance, and solitude in her father's home. On December 5th of 1250, Rose foretold the speedy death of the emperor, a prophecy fulfilled on December 13th. Soon afterwards, she went to nearby Vitorchiano, whose inhabitants, according to surviving reports, were under the leadership of an alleged witch. Rose inspired the conversion of all, even the sorceress. Rose died on March 6th of 1251, and in her short 18 years, she brought Christ to so many, and still today is remembered for her steadfast dedication and for saving the faith of the city of Viterbo. Let us today recall the words of this brave teenager. Quote, "Prayer reveals to souls the vanity of earthly goods and pleasures. It fills them with light, strength, and consolation, and gives a foretaste of the calm bliss of our heavenly home." All week long, you can keep up with the latest happenings in Rome on our Twitter feed, which is @VoiceOfVatican. And be sure to like us on Facebook on our Voice of the Vatican page. Keep checking our social media feeds for breaking news and information about upcoming guests and features. And we want to hear your voice too. Email your questions and stories to us at vov@shalomworld.org. I'm Ashley Nerona, and on behalf of the entire staff and crew of Voice of the Vatican, I wish you a blessed week and feast of the Holy Name of Mary. May God bless you and your family. Saying ciao for now from the Eternal City. I'll see you next week, right here on Voice of the Vatican, only on Shalom World TV, bringing Rome to your home.